Good morning. Good morning. I have to mute that real quick. Good morning, everyone. Beautiful, beautiful morning. First of all, I want to say welcome to the closing table. We are back with another one, and I mean another one. I love this show, bro. I'm enjoying it more and more each week, bro. How about yourself?
Feeling is mutual, my friend. Feeling is mutual here. Pretty super excited. It's Monday, and we got some great topics. And then, we're only 6 days away, James. I know you're not a holiday guy, but I am.
There's another
And,
holiday.
It's Father's Day, man. Sunday.
I mean, my wife's birthday's coming up. I mean, which one do you celebrate? I mean,
you celebrate Father's Day, James. You're a damn good father. So we're celebrating Father's Day.
Man, it sounds good. If I don't celebrate my wife's birthday and we choose Father's Day over that, then we're going to be up shit creek. You might not see me next week. So,
her and I will do a show together. So don't worry.
It sounds good. But yeah, overall, man, how was your weekend? Your weekend been good?
It was good, man. I see all the fire flames here on the chat, so it seems like everybody's having a firing weekend and making things happen, huh?
Yeah, man, I would totally agree with that. I'm super excited. I personally had a great weekend. A lot of business. I did not rest this weekend. It's been a lot of business, and I appreciate that because again, not everybody is fortunate to have that opportunity to stay busy. So I'm definitely happy that I was able to get some things knocked out, get some of my buyers under contract. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, man. And I think the partners as well had a good weekend too, right? I mean, we had 2 or 3 open houses. I saw you got a listing up there as well. I got a contract on a house late Friday evening, inspection here today. So that's, yeah.
Oh, so you got another one under contract for one of your buyers?
I did.
Congratulations on that, Tony.
I got to send you the photo so you can send me a nice little social media post there. Huh?
Sounds good, bro. Tony, he got a new listed as well, right?
Yeah. He was on fire this weekend.
That's awesome, and that's one of the things that I'm glad that we're going to be able to talk about as well. But before we get started, again, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell. And again, welcome everybody to the closing table. I'm James Garman.
This is Daniel.
And again, it's always a pleasure to have you all involved and interacting with us through our chat. If you are currently over there, let me see what chats we have real quick. Of course, we got Daniel saying Monday. Oh, what a weekend. Yes, it was. Good morning, gentlemen from Destiny. B. Walker, remember to hit that like button. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Dolores. Good morning to you as well. It's always a pleasure to have one of our biggest supporters in here. Hey, Timmy, how you doing, brother? Great to see you, man. Thanks for joining us this morning. Again, good morning. Happy birthday. Real estate talk, indeed. Trump talk. We're not gonna talk too much about Trump today, are we? You don't want to talk about Trump. Then I think
it's like the hottest topic right now.
Right, that's it. We don't have to choose. All right.
I like the real estate talk that we're talking about, James. We had a good week, man, all around. I mean, if you get on the YouTube channel, the first thing pops up, the real estate market's crashing, it's crumbling. It's not happening. People have buyer remorse, Yeah,
and that's something we're going to be, jumping in a little bit. Definitely talking about buyer's remorse and all of that good stuff. But first of all, man, I must say, the mixed feelings or the mixed agendas, because I think when it comes to this housing market, we are always getting mixed information. That's in everything. We get mixed information from politics, political figures. We get mixed information from investors. We get mixed information from buyers, sellers. There's always so much information out there, from different news articles to broadcasting stations. There's always somebody giving us some type of information that could be considered screwed or pretty much left bending or right bending, depending on your agenda in this market. And again, that fuels the outcomes of what we're going to be talking about today. Pretty much the real estate market is headed for a huge shift. The question is that a positive shift or a negative shift? That's the real question here, because depending on what your position is in real estate, how you're invested, how you're situated, how you're positioned, can definitely change the perception of this market for you.
James, I agree with you there, right? I mean, unfortunately, people that are not in this business but look at the real estate as a safe bet, they can be scared one day online in reading posts, and then the next day they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't get in time." You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. When we started talking about it, and I was watching these videos and reading some documents and all that crazy stuff yesterday, preparing for the show, I was like, it's good over here, it's bad over here, it's neutral here, it's horrible over here. It's insane the amount of information, and people can take certain numbers and just change it all up to make it look good or bad, and that's what's happening right now, right? Tampa may be a hot area, but Columbus, Georgia may not be, right?
Exactly.
California, San Francisco, not hot at all. I mean, they're dropping 17%, but we know that there's a lot going on over there right now. Like, just besides the real estate, it's a little crazy. So, the numbers are all over the place. I will say, James, I mean, I think Florida, we have 20. I'm surprised, honestly, that Georgia's not busier, being that you guys have a population of like 11 million and we have 22. Like, why aren't people moving to Georgia as well?
Well, I think people are not moving to Georgia because it's more of a political thing. I think when it comes down to Georgia, we are now in we're clear cut when it comes to being cut down the middle. The 50% of the population is Democratic, 50% of the population is Republican, and that plays a big part in people moving here and moving out of our state, because we in Atlanta it's highly Democratic, and if people do move to Georgia, they're moving to far north, where it's more highly Republican based. But overall, I think that's the thing about Georgia is it doesn't have a clear trajectory or perception of what this city is when it comes to political standpoints. And I think that plays a huge part, because the crime rate did rise in the last few years. And I don't think people feel as safe here as they did maybe 5-10 years ago. So I think that may play a huge part in our slowdown when it comes to our growth, which I'm okay with. I don't need more people here.
So in the state of Florida, I mean, I'm assuming because we have an R over us, and that's the reason why we're getting the majority of people to move here.
I mean, I personally would agree. I mean, you have to think about everybody that's moving from the highly saturated Democratic states like California and New York, moving down to Florida, because again, it lines up prospectively and politically for a lot of people to move there because of the benefits. Y'all do not have state taxes as well, which is a plus. And honestly, I think people have a misconception of Florida's housing market. Everybody thinks that the houses are all 500,000 and plus, when that's not true. I mean, there is a lot of affordable living in Florida, depending on where you're moving to. Y'all have a huge growth in your economy when it comes to new construction. Y'all are building in areas that used to be very rural. Now you might need to catch up with your damn highways and get that moving a lot faster, because I mean the housing market there
that's never going to catch up, James. Never ever. I've lived here my entire life. It's always been a headache.
And right now there's a lot of mixed information, because I mean, and again, we have to realize, where is that information coming from? Why is that information here? And again, you just mentioned it. You said something about Florida having 17,000. Can you repeat that again for me real quick? You were stating something about Florida. Was it
Well, I'm just saying that Florida, the population's like 22 million.
Okay, 22. Okay, yeah, I thought
Georgia's like half of that. So I mean, we border each other. I'm surprised that the population with Florida, and not more people are moving into Georgia, especially on that border of Florida and Georgia.
I would agree. And again, I think people are moving from Georgia because of that reason overall, and they're moving down to Florida. We're thinking about moving down to Florida. I mean, like, I'm not sure. I'm sure we're not the only one. My neighbor is looking to buy a place in St. Petersburg.
Okay.
So there's always a shift happening depending on, I think, first of all, political agendas and alignments. If you can align, if a state can align with political parties, then I think if when they have a defining political, state, whether it's Democratic or Republican, then you have people knowing exactly why they want to move there. Like I said, Georgia, like it's too 50-50 here for people to really say if they want to stay here or move here. So I think that's where we are right now. If we was to define ourselves more as a political figure, whether it's Democratic or Republican, we will have a more of a shift here, overall. So,
well, I definitely think there's a shift happening, right? I mean, just last week, I think it was, we saw here somebody was moving from New York, and they were talking about selling their house and all of that stuff. And it was like, I don't know, it was like an 1,800 square foot house or something like that. And it was on the market for 350 or something like that. But, I go back like 5-6 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And when I was talking to people that were moving down from New York, they were selling those houses for like 700,000-800,000, coming down here, buying a Florida house for 250, 2,700 square foot home. That's not the case anymore. Right. Uh-huh. That 1,800 square foot house in New York, that's 350,000. That 1,800 square foot house here in Florida is the same thing. It's 350, 400,000. Could be even more, especially if it's in St. Pete or Clearwater. So, the prices, the values of our homes, I don't see them dropping, James. I don't see them dropping. I just went through a neighborhood Saturday night. We visited some friends, and I went down a street where they're building homes, and I counted 50 construction homes being built at one time. And these houses range from anywhere from 1,700 all the way up to 2,700 square feet.
Wow.
50 houses under construction.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. But
that's crazy, man.
This is the thing about the news. The news would tell you something different. The news would tell you that Florida is the one that's at most risk when it comes to foreclosures. They would tell you that Florida is the one who's going to see the biggest drop, and biggest increase in foreclosures, as if this is 2008, 2009 again. Now, if we do look back, Florida did have one of the hugest increases in foreclosures during that time, because of the risky mortgages, is what they call it. So if we talk about it, let's talk about it real quick. Are foreclosures rising in America? Do you think that's a concern right now, and especially Florida right now?
James, I mean, let's talk about it, right? 2008, 2009, right? I don't have the number in front of me, but what was Florida's average household income, right? Like, always been very, very low. We had people from out of state moving here, buying houses, investing in houses, and all that stuff. Well, I would say that Florida's household income is probably still, it's probably not there in the top 10. I don't think it is. So we've had a lot of people outside of this state come in by, whether they sold their house in California for $2 million and then came here and bought a house for $350,000. I think foreclosures will happen, but I don't think it's going to happen at the rate that they're talking about. I really, really don't, because most people, I think they said 84% of people within the last 18 to 24 months, 2021 to 2022, and that's all right. So 2020, the end of 2020 through 2021, like 83% of our mortgages are at 3%. 4%. I mean, the rates are amazing.
And again, I would agree with you on that. But again, let's talk about the news. They're not painting Florida in that light. There's YouTubers out there who are stating that, hey, Florida is going to be one of the biggest hits when it comes to the foreclosure market. Now, if we go to what we would consider someone we could trust, if we look at Core Logic, they're a leading global property information analytics company, and they provide a lot of data for us, and even with our KV Core platform, Core Logic is huge in giving us a lot of our market updates. They released the homeowners equity report for the first quarter 2023. The report shows that the U.S. homeowners with mortgages, which amounts to about roughly 63% of all properties, show home equity decrease of 0.7% year over year, representing a collective loss of 108 billion and an average loss of 5,400 per borrower since the first quarter of 2022. Now, that sounds horrible, right? That sounds pretty horrible. But the thing about it is, it goes down to say also in the first quarter of 2023, U.S. homeowners with a mortgage loss lost a small amount of equity year over year for the first time since 2012, while national combined equity followed suit. As the fourth quarter 2022, Western states posted the largest annual home equity losses. Washington, 74,000, as you can see up here on the screen. Also, California, around 60,000. Utah, 37,000. And we also have an equity loss in those states reflecting decelerating home prices. Go ahead.
James, but we could take a loss. Our house values, you had a house at 200,000. People were selling them for 300,000. Way over what it should have been valued.
Exactly.
And so now we're taking a 25% hit. Let's just say that we're not taking 25. My home value has not dropped 25%.
Mine hasn't
my
dropped
home value at one point, our house, let's say 500,000. If it's right now at 475, it's still better than what it was 3 years ago.
Right.
And so you got to take the good with the bad. Now, it was great. You didn't sell your house, right? You didn't sell your house and make the top dollar and go and secure a lower rate. But at the end of the day, if you would have sold your house at the top of the market, you were buying at the top of the market, unless you had an off-market deal or another house to go to, right? It's just we can take a decrease. It doesn't just need to always tick upwards. Sometimes it has to take a step back.
And the thing about that is, again, this is they paint these pictures this way to cause panic, because you'll read that first, you'll hear that first, and automatically think, oh shit, like I'm losing money in my house. But despite these declines, home equity remains solid, with the numbers of underwater properties unchanged since the fourth quarter of 2022. And although some major metro areas, such as California and Los Angeles, San Francisco, they have negative shares of 0.9. Look at Florida. They have a positive gain about 25K. These people aren't losing the money that they're claiming. Even in Georgia, we have 11K handover year equity gain, and I gained equity in our new property. Now, my property, when we put the offer in, was $25,000-$30,000 overpriced. No, I'm a realtor. I did my comparables. No, how about we get this for that $25,000 off, and that's what we done. So we bought our house at market value. We wasn't concerned about not buying a house. We didn't need to buy a house. We bought a house because, again, we wanted to take advantage of a situation that we was in. Now, right now, we're positive equity. Now, this can't be said for everyone. I totally get it. Not everyone is going to be like, hey, I'm positive equity, because you was too anxious to purchase a house when you could have waited. You definitely could have waited. But no, I mean, I'm not going out here to spend $75,000 over asking price, waiving my due diligence just to say the market isn't going to change and I want to be a person with a property. No, I'm not going to be that person. I'm sorry. And again, we still have to remember, a lot of these people got their properties at 2 and 3% interest rates. So how is that still a bad deal? How is that a bad deal if you got that house right now with a 2.8 or 3.2% interest rate? It's still a good deal.
Yeah. Talking about the foreclosures in Florida, I think where a lot of times, James, whoever's calculating all this stuff, I think a lot of times, because there's a lot of investment properties and you deal with investors, I deal with investors, they're not always using their cash, right? a lot of them, especially when the rates were at 2.83%, stuff like that. I mean, money, they could borrow money at zero, right? So they're borrowing money or they do hard money. And those hard money loans, you and I both know, I mean, yeah, they may have been 9%, but those guys right now are ticking upwards to about 12% right now
Yes.
for hard money interest only loans. So where are those houses? I can definitely see some of those houses, some people walking away from those deals and be like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to remodel it anymore. The rent rates aren't going crazy. They're not ticking upwards anymore like they were for a while. So we could see some things there, but those are good buys for smart investors right now, right? There will be some equity on the bones there at some point. So I do see a little bit of a foreclosure probably on some investment homes, but I think most people right now, where they are, if they haven't taken a home equity line, if they haven't gone out and like we've been talking over the last year, don't go buy a boat, don't go buy a jet ski. You know, you do smart money right now, save, invest wisely. I think most people will be okay. I think the ones that, you know, got the 3% interest rate, but took a home equity line out, bought a boat, taking vacations left and right, just
Yeah,
spending
man.
money on spending money.
Spend money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. They're going to walk away. They're going to be like,
If,
nope, I don't want to do this because
listen,
that's what happens.
I look at it like this. If you're not 90, 85, 90 years old and you don't have any family member to leave your property to, if you're not taking a reverse purchase mortgage out to go and do those things, leave it the hell alone. Do not be one of those type of people that are taking out uh, refinance mortgages to do dumb shit with your money. I mean, it just doesn't make sense at this point. Right now, again, if you're going to refinance, if you're not refinancing to buy another property, to put that money into something that's going to make you more money, then you're just losing. You're already losing having a thought that you need to refinance if you're not going to look to reinvest that into something like new construction or not even a fix and flip. You can do so much more with a new construction or real estate investment trust. Put that money somewhere where that money can actually grow because that's
Yeah.
what it should be for. It shouldn't be for you to go out and use it as entertainment purposes. So yeah, man. I mean, honestly, even with all of this talk, we have Selma Help. She's the CEO of or chief economist of CoreLogic. She basically say as a result, while the average amount of equity declined from a year ago, it increased from the fourth quarter of 2022 as monthly home prices grow accelerated in early 2023. So we can say all it is that things are declining, but nobody talks about the small increments of increases. They want to see big increases. They don't see the 20-30% increases. They don't mention it. That's the thing that I hate the most about when it comes to a lot of these numbers and a lot of these situations. We don't talk about the small increases or increments of increase. And again, it's not huge and it may not get somebody, panties wet, but overall, I think those things need to be mentioned. And I think we need to mention those things more often.
I agree. A win is a win, whether it's a big win or a small win, right?
Right.
I mean, it's important. Timothy asked a question: how do housing vouchers affect real estate?
Well, and again, I do want to answer that question as well. But before we answer that question, I want to bring up what B. Walker said here. She said the ATL entertainment industry is great, but people are moving here and renting, and then people don't want to sell because they sacrifice their low interest rates for higher ones. I totally agree with this on all standpoints because again, we see that a lot here. A lot of people are moving here and purchasing, but I think a lot of people are moving here for short term rental stay because of the increased entertainment industry here when it comes to the movie industry. We got so many different movie companies making their movies in our studios here now, getting away from the expensive commercial real estate in Los Angeles. So I think at that point, that's where we're seeing our increase of people coming here, but not purchasing here because they don't see it as a long-term stay,
Right, because if they're acting, it changes. They could
it
go
changes.
now. They could go to the West Coast again, to do a new movie or whatever it is, right? I mean, so probably for actors, that's what they come and do. I mean, how long does it take to make a movie, James?
It could take
You're in the
40.
industry. I mean, it could probably take a year, 2 years, right?
It
I
could
don't
take a
know.
year, depending on the movie and any production, hiccups. It could take up to a year, depending on how big the budget of the movie or how big the movie is.
Okay.
Lower, smaller movie budgets, it could take up between 60 to maybe even 90 to 120 days, where people like, well, I just need a short-term rental. I need a place to, be a short term.
What?
So we got just,
But do most owners like of these movie companies, right? These production facilities and all that stuff, well, they just buy houses and let the actors stay there, or
no,
that's not part of
it's
the gig?
not. No, no, no. It depends on how big the movie budget
Okay.
is.
All
No,
right.
no,
Okay.
no, no. You definitely, when it comes to these movies, sometimes you have to get it on your own. If you got to fly in every shoot, or if you got to rent out a place, it's already inside your fees that you're charging for whatever role you're picking up.
So you're
But
telling me the Rock has to purchase his own place to rent?
oh no,
I'm
no, no.
sure in his
No,
contract somewhere.
no, no, no. His contract. He's making too much. He's going to insert that into his contract. That,
Yeah.
hey, if you want me in Georgia to film this movie for the next 6 months, you're definitely going to be paying for my housing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but we
So, but that's only when you're at that status,
yeah,
right?
we know
Okay.
that status. Yeah, indeed.
Okay. All
But
right.
the average person, if you're not living here and you have to fly in for a week or two or a month at a time, you're definitely spending a lot of money to get this role, because it's going to be more significant for you to do that role. But overall, there people are renting here. People are coming here to rent, and then they're leaving and they're coming back in whenever they have the opportunities, at their fingertips. But yeah, honestly, I definitely do want to get into that conversation with Timmy as well. Timmy said, unless you're, or no, Dolores said, unless you're rich, there's only one road way off. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, unless you're rich, I'm not sure what she was stating there. I mean, yeah, rich people have it a lot easier, but they work to have it a lot easier. So I really don't want to get into that conversation today. but overall, Timmy, as you mentioned, Danny, Timmy said, how do housing vouchers affect real estate? Well, you want to jump into that real quick, or do you?
Well, I mean, when it comes to the vouchers, I don't. I've had some HUD housing, right? I've done those vouchers, so I'm not 100% sure on what we're talking about voucher wise. So I've only dealt with vouchers when it comes to renting properties. So when it comes to buying a house, I'm not 100% sure on that. I mean, there's definitely multiple programs out there that can help with down payment assistance and stuff like that. There's USDA loans and stuff that are great in certain areas. But when it comes to like a voucher, I'm not 100% sure on that.
So let's talk about that right now, because I think I know about those. I've seen a lot of people use those vouchers, those housing vouchers to purchase. One of the things that's a benefit with it when it comes to HUD and it comes to Tennessee Valley Housing Authority TVA loans, TVA vouchers. They do support you buying a home if you've rented for them for like a year or two. If they've been paying for your rent to rent for the last like 2 years and you got a decent credit score, they will give you a voucher to help you pay for your purchase of your property. They'll do the same thing with the Georgia Dream here. We have the Georgia Dream here. I know y'all have a down payment assistance, a few
Yeah,
down payment assistance programs.
so it's like hometown heroes for us.
That's pretty much what it is. They're putting liens on your houses. They'll give you the money for your down payment. They'll put a lien on your house. You have to live there for like 18 months, 2 years. And they'll treat it just like the rental situation. Only people can live there is the ones that are, involved with the program. Like,
if they sell their house, James, do they have to pay that back?
If they sell it before that time limit is up, yes, they have to pay that down payment back.
So ours is different.
Okay.
I think the money that you borrow when you sell, it goes back. It funds the account so that they can keep it rolling. Like there's not an expiration period.
So no matter what, if it's 2 years, 10 years, it goes back.
You can borrow up to 5% per 100,000 up to $25,000, right? So $200,000 home purchase, you can get $10,000. But when you sell your house, my understanding is that they take that $10,000. It's a lien. That $10,000 goes back into the Hometown Heroes program to fund the next person.
And again, I agree with that. That should be the way it go. And I think the issue for me is with these things is that it's allowing people, if they're not helping you pay your monthly mortgage, I think it's an issue for people still, because now we are pushing this new 1% down mortgage There's 1% down payments when it comes to Rocket Mortgage, and a few other people who are now using this as a way to entice lower income, um, more heading more towards the uneducated market, trying to get people to buy homes to keep their foot on the housing market, because right now that's the only way they can pay their bills. The more
Yeah,
mortgages,
because rates last week were 6-7.
yeah.
You
So
know,
if you can't pay, if I can't write new mortgages, I can't make any money. So the only way we can do this is by going back into the bag and creating more
coming
what
up
we
with some
call it
creative ways, and yep.
subprime mortgages, and
Guess what
getting,
happens?
yes, subprime mortgages, getting people. If you don't know what a subprime mortgage is, come on, that's just pretty much it's very predatory. It's a predatory way of lending money to people who really can't afford it. And that's the thing right there. It's like we're now making risky mortgages. We're making things that are going to be sold to other people or on other markets at a higher rate, guaranteeing that this thing is not going to fail. Same thing that happened in 2008, 2009.
Yep.
And and from that point, we're going to see a lot of foreclosures. Maybe not now, but maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, 4 years, once the market shifts. And I'm already getting people giving me calls asking me where can they find foreclosed homes. I'm like, wow, y'all are really hot on these foreclosures right now. And I'm not saying they're not out there, but I think people are thinking that they're going to multiply over the next couple of years, and they want to start getting their hands on those things now, you know?
I mean, James, I think you're absolutely right, right? Because think about it. You bought your house or you owned your house. You were at a, say, 5-6% interest rate. Rates dropped, COVID happens, 2-5-3%. You refinance, right? Our housing prices are continuing to rise. So guess what? You're like, man, I got $100,000 in equity in my house. Let's go take out a home loan, or let's go take out a home equity line. And that's what they're doing, right? Now, those home equity lines, if we had home rates at 3%, home equity lines are probably at 5%. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
You're more on the mortgage side than I am, James.
No, that's facts. No, that's totally facts.
Okay. All right. I thought that would be the case, right? So now we've got these home equity lines. What do most people do? They, again, probably use it to its max, right? And think, and well, we can use it all and then we'll just refinance because rates are going to stay at 3%, 4%. Well, that didn't happen. Overnight, they went from 3 to 6.
Right.
So now you've got your home at 3%. You're making that mortgage payment, and you have your home equity line and you're making that payment. Now you're using your credit cards. You know what I'm saying? It could get really crazy.
I think he's already there. B. Walker said they increase interest rates on middle class home buyers to fund these home programs. As a result, some people lose their homes, and the bank collects, or people are forced to pay increasing interest. I totally agree with you there as well, because the thing is, if you look at the overall structure, and I don't want to go too far into a political conversation today, but if you look at the overall structure, the structure is to kill the middle class. What happens once we kill the middle class living? We become more of a socialist / communist state where everybody is living, no matter how much money you're making, you're living as well as the people who are not making what you're making. This is a continuous agenda, continuous push towards that structure of living in America. Now, we're doing this constantly, forcing middle class people not to buy. We're stopping them from buying because their interest rates are so high. And also, this 1%, you have to realize, only applies to people who are making less than that medium housing rate in their city or state. So if home prices are 180,000, they're only going to give these loans to people who are making $30,000-$20,000 a year. I can't, if I'm making over 85, 89,000, $90,000, I can't apply for a 1% down payment mortgage. This is only for people who are living below the threshold of middle class or the medium, and I think that's wrong now in so many levels, that we're now forcing people who can't afford living to be in homes that we can't even afford now. It's like, what the hell is that situation? What is that? Like, yeah.
James, I'm with you. Like, why do we have to? It's a traditional mortgage, right? If you qualify for a traditional mortgage, 30-year, 15-year, whatever it is, and you have your down payment, you have your closing costs, and you can afford it, you should be moving into that house. When it comes to, like you said, these subprime loans of 1% down and use this voucher here, that's scary. That is somebody trying to come up with a creative way to get somebody into a house that really shouldn't be in that house, right?
Shouldn't be in that
Or,
house.
or hey, instead of buying that $400,000 house with this creative mortgage process and everything, and you're going to lose your tail on it, back it down, go purchase that $300,000 house, get some equity. We've seen the housing market time and time again drop, pick up, drop, pick up. I guess at the end of the day, when I was buying houses in 2011 and 12, they were $30,000. Those houses are no longer here in Florida. So obviously, whether it's high interest rates or low interest rates, the house values are still increased. And that's only 10 years ago. So, back off these $400,000 and go and get what you fit under a traditional loan.
I would agree. And traditional means I have the structure to actually afford what we're going for. But I don't think that's where we're headed because of our agenda in America. Actually, B. Walker just said it. I think she said it pretty well. Eventually, people that take advantage of low income programs damage and destroy the property. Investors come in and gentrify and raise the values. I think she actually hit that on point because, again, a lot of people, if you don't come from a $400,000 life and you don't understand what that $400,000 life looks like, means you don't understand that to keep that property value up going to cost you an extra $60,000 a year that you're not making. It costs that much more to keep the property value up on those homes. I go into homes all the time, and I mean huge homes. I'm like, how did you allow this home to get like this? How did a person move into a home that at one point was amazing, like beautiful, no matter if you're a renter or what, and you allow the home to get destroyed like this? Like, you ran this home into the ground. Now the property of this home went from 450,000 down to 300 and a quarter, or maybe even 275. And somebody's running into this neighborhood where you have a comparables of 400 plus $1,000 homes getting these properties at 275,000. And who can do that? Who can do that? Investors. Because let's talk about it. FHA loan is not going to allow you to buy that house because
no, James, real quick before you go there, I just want to say, if you're thinking about buying a home in Florida and you have an open mind and going to buy houses, you give me a call. Because when I walk in a house like that and I see that, I'm like, we are not paying this price. We are coming in way low, way low. See what happens.
And again, but think about if you're using a VA loan or if you're using an FHA loan in these houses, you're not qualified for those anyways. You're like, they're not going to go. They're not even going to accept the FHA. They're looking for what? Investors, cash buyers, conventional buyers, because those people have the means to come in and do what they need to do. This is another thing about these loans. If you look at FHA loans and you look at VA loans, don't get me wrong. USDA loans, I love all of those loans. They're government-backed loans, right? But the thing about the government-backed loans is that they put all of these little stipulations in there, and they're starting to take a lot of them away, like the FHA, like the funding fees, all of the PMI interest, or
yeah,
fees.
They just lowered that. Right?
They keep lowering those, and I don't mind that. I think they should continue to lower those things. This is the reason why. If we get away from actually having investors or banks fund these loans. Think about all the money that back in 2010 that the government gave BlackRock. They gave them billions of dollars. They gave them billions. I'm talking about 20, 30 billions of dollars to do what? Go around and buy up these foreclosure properties, right? What if they would have directly gave that money to the people? Think about that, Danny. What if they would have directly gave that money to the people to go out and buy homes, and we have to pay the government back, versus we having to pay these investors or these bankers or these people who don't have our best interest? We're now having to go borrow money from a third party when that money could have came directly from the government to us. Like, if that money would have came directly to the people of America, we would have been able to go out and buy these properties, do what we needed to do with these properties, and have to pay the government back. I think the government needs to stop using a third party lender and start lending money directly themselves. If we have the power to get it from the Fed, we should have the power to get it from the government. That's my take on it. These FHA loans and VA loans and USDA loans should not have to go through a bank. They should not have to go through a third party lender to have them underwrite these loans. That should be done in the by the government. It may take a little longer, but
it's going to take a lot longer, James. I'm saying, I'm like, man, traditional right now is 30, 45 days. We may be looking at, 90 days to close, and we're dealing with the government right now.
I mean, that's true, but I think it'll give us more. It give us more of a propping mechanism to actually prop up the American citizen, and we don't have to worry about such a high interest rate. We don't have to ever worry about such a high, because again, the government don't have to make money. You get what I'm saying? They shouldn't have to make money by giving us money. When they give the money,
again, they'll sell the loan to a bank, right?
But I don't think they should do that either. I think what they should do is keep the loans in-house, because if they keep the loans in-house, if they keep the government loans there, then we don't have to worry about them doing it for the profit factor. The profit factor from these third parties like the bankers and like the JP Morgans, the Chases, they're hiking up this stuff so they can make money on the end. They're making money on the back end. We could be funding our own government if we did that. So that's just my thing.
I like it. I like it for sure.
So,
James, real quick on loans, right? Is this true? So let's say that I have an interest rate of 3% on my house. You want to buy my house. Can I transfer my rate to you? Is that a possibility?
It's an assumable loan. I think, yeah, on an assumable loan. Not all loans are assumable though. Okay. If I assume your loan, that it's the same. I don't think you have to refinance an assumable loan. I think as long as you have the credit to pick up where you left off, that is fine. But the thing about assumable loans, I think they don't offer that as often as they used to. If you do a loan today, with the interest rate of 3% of what you had 3%, you look back into that. You look back into your contract with whoever you did that loan with. It says they have the right to sell your loan to a third party. Well, you don't. You don't have the right to sell it.
So if it's an FHA or a VA, probably not. Regular conventional probably can do that.
Yes. They're highly more likely to have an assumable loan criteria versus a FHA or a VA loan or even a USDA, because again, it's just like they want to lock you into something sometimes, and it seems like it's predatory, in some ways to keep you stuck. Either you need to sell, foreclose, whatever, but to have somebody just pick up your loan and keep it moving, that's the hardest part to do. So we need some change, man. I think we definitely need some change, but we have to get away from this crap like a 1% down payment. Like this shit is at some point is ridiculous to even be considering, like just to keep the housing market moving for people who, I'm not saying they shouldn't ever have a house, but if we got to get this creative to create more subprime mortgages, it's going to hurt our economy more than anything at this point. That's
of course, James. I mean, if you're buying a $300,000 house and you're only putting 1% down, I mean, that's normally a normal traditional loan. You're putting, $9,000, $12,000 down. If you're doing 3%, whatever, it's crazy.
How much of the American dream do we have to sell to people before they realize that the dream is not real? It's like we're constantly pushing that everybody needs and deserves a home. What we need to do is figure out how to get a lot of people off the streets without bringing in more illegals and giving them places over our American citizens. I think that's one of the issues we need to figure out first, because right now I don't know if you've seen this in the news, but they're offering people stipends to open up their homes and allow these illegal aliens to come in and live with them, like monthly stipends, up to I think $2,500 per person. So, or if you got
how much?
I think it's $2,500 per person. But if you got the room, man, over there, I think you can allow some illegals to come in, live with your family. Open up a room or two if you have it. I think.
I have some family members that I don't really like. I could I could volunteer their houses and stuff. No, just kidding.
Oh, I mean, I mean, it is
Every
what it
single one of my
is.
family members now are like, is he talking about me?
Yeah, I think he's talking about me. Yeah. But honestly though, man, I mean, that's what we're doing now. But I think that same, if that's the case, then that same that money should have went to American citizens. And I'll gave them the chance to live with somebody random for $2,500 a month. I mean, because now we're now pushing out people who have been here, who have been working towards the American dream, and not giving them the opportunity that other people are getting because they're not illegals. And again, that's just my perspective on it. And again, B Walker, I agree, it is a dirty game. But right now, we're now forcing people into homes with 1% down payment. But just think about this. You know how many people I get calling me every day wanting to know how much they need for a down payment? It goes from either 0%, it goes from 5% to 0% if you get a down payment assistance program. Then now it's a standard of 1% because the lenders are willing to take up to 2%. No, people who can't afford down payments, you know what that means, right?
Yeah.
People who can't afford down payments mean you don't walk into a home with equity. That's why the conventional loan works, because you have to put down $60,000-$70,000 on your property. And if you have to put down 50, 60, $70,000 down on your property, you have equity in that property the moment you put your furniture in it. The moment you sign on that paper, you have equity, which means if you lose your house or you have to sell your house down the road, you're still walking away with what? Some cash. A person who doesn't have to put down anything on their house is walking away with nothing, because if the home prices drop, you're underwater.
You're underwater.
You're underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're complaining about 3.5%. We're complaining about $16,000 down on a house. You don't need a house. You don't need a house right now. And that's just what we are in our society right now, man. This 1% mortgage crap is horrible. So
B. Walker talks about HOAs. I love HOAs. I don't want to pay crazy prices, but I love HOAs. I love it. I don't want people parking in their grass in the front yard. I don't want people parking on the streets overnight, all of that stuff. I don't want somebody painting their house pink right next door to me, even though pink's my favorite color. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I don't have anything against HOAs. You just got to know what your budget is for an HOA.
I totally agree with you. I didn't know how much I enjoyed a HOA until I bought my house with an HOA.
I had a client. Her first comment to me, I was, when you're talking to a client to set them up to find the perfect home for them, all that, you ask those questions. Are you looking for a corner lot? It's Florida. Do you want a pool? Blah, blah, blah. And most people are like, I don't want an HOA. I don't want to be told what to do. And my question is, hold on. Let's go around a neighborhood where there is no HOA and you tell me what you feel. Or let's go into an HOA where people have to have nice grass. They can't park a camper for more than 24 hours in the front yard. You can't be replacing your car Monday through Friday in the driveway and stuff like that. Like there's a budget there and there's a reason for it, right? So I think people have some misunderstanding when it comes to the HOAs out there that they're always going to beat you up. Now they're there to help and keep the neighborhood clean, as well as to keep your values of your home up. So pick your budget when it comes to an HOA.
I totally agree. And the thing about an HOA is, again, when we had our first house, and the HOA was, I think, $1,200-$1,500 a year. Not horrible. And they take care of all the common areas.
Yeah.
Making sure that even on your property, the common area, like the easement that goes around the cul-de-sac, is nice and well kept. It definitely helps, keeps the property value up. And I grew up, like I can mention this a million times, I grew up in an area where we didn't understand HOAs, or HOAs were the devil. But
I didn't know what an HOA was growing up.
Right. So, I mean, but people tell you, like, you don't want people telling you how to live. You don't want people to tell you what you can and can't do on your own property, when that's not actually the case. It's a community of people coming together to say, hey, we want to live a certain way. It's either you can agree with this or you either agree with this or you don't. And if you don't, then this is not the place for you. It's not something you're forced into. Now, but I love the house. The house is for me. Well, obviously it's not if you are against the HOA that they have set up in structure. We have to go find you something that's for you, which is fine. But again, I see people who buy in HOAs all the time. And outside of HOAs, they tell me, hey, I wish at this point I would have bought an HOA because I did not know my neighbors did not like to keep their grass cut. Or what about that investor who comes into the neighborhood and put boards on a window and takes 10 years to actually fix the house up, never cuts the grass, and you have overgrown bushes in the backyard that's causing rodents and snakes to come to your house? These things aren't thought about, when people are shitting on the HOA structure. The HOA structure is there because you have a mindset. You have a mentality that this is how you want to keep your property value going up. And if you allow anybody to move into your subdivision or into your neighborhood and they don't have the same mindset as you, then you're going to possibly see a drop in your equity, a drop in your economy. And if people really want to move in that neighborhood or not, it'll be harder to sell your house. You don't want to be buying a house for $190,000 and in 7 years, because there's no HOA, the housing value has now gone down to $80,000.
James, 100%. I want to talk about this here. There's a comment on here. It says about living that close to people, right? James, I'm going to tell you the houses that I saw, the 50 houses that I saw this weekend on Saturday, they are 10 feet apart. They are 10 feet apart. I will tell you, probably 7 years ago, even maybe longer than that, the houses that I have, like when we bought out here in 04 and 07, those houses, our houses are 20 feet apart from each other. We are now 10 feet, sometimes even 8 feet apart as we're building these houses. Literally, like in between the two houses, you can go like this and you can almost touch, right? Michael Jordan or someone like that could probably touch it, right? But it's crazy how close these houses are actually being built.
And the question is, why? What are we preparing for? Are we preparing for an influx of people? Because there's a lot of areas that are super rural that we don't have to build this close. But I think due to the fact that people are so hell bent on being, in a city structure, that we are forcing these new home buyers to live on top of each other. My house, I must say, I think I'm on 0.8 acres. No, I'm on 0.9 acres of land. I'm saying 8. Yeah, I think I'm on 0.8 acres, but I just come from a 5-acre lot. I come from a 5-acre lot where I had too much land. Now I'm on just enough land where I don't have to interact with my neighbors just because I'm out on my balcony. They're far enough away that I have to walk over and say, hey, look over the fence a little bit and say, hey. So I see this all the time as well, Daniel. We are now being forced to live on top of each other because people don't want to go farther out. Now, that's fine. I love the country. I'm from Mississippi. I love the country life. But I also grew up in apartments. I also grew up in, townhouse like living structures. And I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. So I'm fine with having at least 10, 20 feet, but I would love more.
James, well, I'll visit you when you're bored and you need some conversation, okay? And then you can come when you need conversation, you come to my house because I'll be honest with you. I definitely couldn't live on 40 acres because my mind would be like, oh my God, I could build townhomes or houses here. I'll just start a whole village, right? But 0.8 acres, 9 acres, 1 acres, I can't. I have to have neighbors. I like to socialize and talk and, have a good time. Now, I don't want to be 8 feet close to my neighbors, right? You know what I'm saying? But
you might as well be living with them.
I mean, the way the houses are right now, like you're like, hey, you're making a margarita, I'll take one.
Just hand it right on over.
That's how close they are right now.
I got a zip line mine across to my neighbors. Yeah. But honestly,
James, they no longer have to take the 2 solo cups with the fishing wire and talk. You know what I'm saying? Like they just roll up the window and they're like, hey, what's on dinner? I'm going to Publix. You need something? That's how close they are right now.
I smell the food over there, man. It's
insane.
But yeah, man, honestly, I think the housing market is going to have a huge shift. We have to make sure that we're prepared for it because the commercial real estate it's going to cause this huge shift. And if commercial real estate fails, we have to realize that the housing market is right behind it. So listen, people. Prepare yourself for a huge buy. A huge buy. If you're not prepared, means get your credit right. If you need to refinance, have that money set aside, be ready to go, because there's going to be a huge shift in the housing market that's going to give you an opportunity to make a lot of money. If you're ready to make some money, it's coming. If you're ready to make some money in the housing market, it is on its way. So let's get ready to take advantage of it. Now, you may say that's wrong. You may say that's wrong, but it's business. It's just simply business, and that's how.
No, if you haven't taken that home equity line out, you've got that equity built up in your house. I definitely think, James, something's coming with the commercial. Like, there's no way around it. I do think, based on just like timelines and all of that stuff, where we've seen lower interest rates and stuff, we'll be coming up on that 5-year mark probably in like the next 12 to 18 months or so. And it's going to be exciting for those that are watching it. There's definitely going to be some stuff that's going to be available.
Yeah, I totally agree. And with that being said, I hope you all have enjoyed this conversation. Just take into consideration that the housing market is going to have this shift, and if you don't keep your eyes on it, you're going to miss an opportunity. I'm not talking about the 1% down opportunity. That's a scam. But I'm talking about the opportunity to get into these buying some really cheap properties, whether it's commercial is going down like crazy. But you're going to have opportunity to possibly turn those into multi-families. Because if people continue to work from home and stop, buying these commercial properties, they're going to be turned into condominiums. Those buildings are going to be turned into apartments, and I don't blame them. I mean, I think it's too much unused commercial space out here that it could be doing some good for our economy. Instead of giving people this money to buy single families they can't afford, what about making some condominiums out of those commercial buildings and letting them buy those for 75 to 100,000, 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom, 1 bath, or vice versa?
James, I mean, they're already doing it in one of my favorite places down there in Indian Rocks Beach, right over at John's
Really?
Pass. They are doing it. I can't remember the guy's name. We've talked about him before, and they're taking these big commercial buildings and turning them into efficiency apartments, like 1 bedroom apartments, stuff like that. They can rent it out as an Airbnb or. But there's definitely some money there to be made, and it's coming.
Yeah, I agree. Only me. If you want to sell, definitely reach out to me or Bernadette. We would love to help you sell in Arkansas. And if you need to bring utilities into the property, I mean, I got some. Uh, I got some generators I'll sell you, whatever you need, brother. Let me know. Let me know. But other than that, man, I hope everybody enjoyed the conversation. Please feel free to like, share, and hit the notification button and bell if you haven't already. Other than that, I was a great one. I look forward to seeing you all Thursday. And man,
James, always my friend. I'll chat with you very shortly because we got a partner meeting coming up.
Indeed. Well, with that being said, sorry, I was trying to. Where the hell? Oh, here we go. I almost lost it. Until next time, everybody, have a great one.